After 10 days in Cherbourg, on July 29, there was a possible weather window for the passage to Spain. 120 miles to the end of the channel, next to the French town of Brest in Bretagne, and 380 miles to cross Biscay, total 500 miles. I had a female crew for this passage, one of them an expert sailor.
We left at 7 a.m. to take advantage of the fair tide to be able to pass Cap de la Hague, a notorious headland where the mighty tides of the French coast of Bretagne create tidal races which can reach 7 or even 8 knots.
For the first 2 hours, we had 15-18 knots of wind on a close howl with an angle of 45 degrees, sailing with a full Genoa and a double reefed main. We were still in the lee of the Cap de la Hague, after which we expected 20 knots wind right on our nose and 2-meter waves, which we got exactly as forecasted. At this stage, we were making approximately 6 knots with 1 knot of favorable tide. We had to zigzag, alternating starboard and port tacks as the wind was contrary, making a lot of miles but little progress. We were speeding about 6 knots on 18 knots of wind. But as long as we had a fair tide, we could go ahead. The weather had improved, but the seas were getting bigger, around 2 meters, with 18-20 knots wind. Wind was constantly from the west, meaning exactly against our directions. One of the crew members got seasick, and she has been out of commission for the rest of the day. You can see from the plotter how far from a straight course we were, here on a starboard tack going southwest rather than west as we would have needed. vento è tra i 15 e i 16 nodi, 18 nodi diventa apparente, mare formato, onda tra 1 e 2 metri. Purtroppo il vento è esattamente contrario alla nostra direzione, per cui con questo mare andare a motore è inimmaginabile, bisogna fare dei bordi e con tutti questi zig zag chissà quando arriviamo. Sono le 15:20 del pomeriggio, il vento è un po' calato, prima erano 17-18 nodi, adesso sono 13-14. Later in the afternoon the weather got worse. Wind was always against us and our progress very slow. Forecast for the next 2 days was for strong westerly winds, 25 to 30, and I made the decision to abort and seek refuge at Port St. Peter on Guernsey Island. Our progress was too slow to go all the way through Biscay, and in 2 or 3 days a strong westerly gale was expected. Grosso, vento contrario 16 nodi, corrente contraria 2 nodi e mezzo, risultato con 17 nodi di vento il motore riesco a fare 3 nodi. With 17 knots of wind against us, at the turn of the tide we were making just 3 knots. I was going to make a night entry into St. Peter Port, and I was a bit worried to make an approach in the dark, in a channel full of rocks and dangers. But we made it to St. Peter Port safely. Martedì 1 agosto, questo è il porto Marina Victoria di Guernsey, momento di bassa marea, grazie al basso pescaggio della mia barca che con la sua chiglia lunga pesca. The decision to stop and St. Peter's on the island of Guernsey turned out to be very wise. On August the 2nd, there was a 40 knots westerly gale in the channel, which made some damages both on the English and the French coasts. Thanks to the small draft of my Island packet, which is only 1.4 meters, I was able to get in a very sheltered position just in front of the wall. Ecco una vista del paese di Guernsey. Dall'altra parte della diga c'è un altro porticciolo chiuso. Eccomi qua, come vedete io mi sono messo in pole position, avrò sì e no mezzo metro d'acqua sotto la chiglia, speriamo di non toccare, ma anche se mi appoggio con la mia chigliona lunga non c'è nessun problema. Ed ecco l'equipaggio al lavoro. As you can see, the crew is much happier when sitting easy in port. Just to give an idea of the 9-meter tide in this Channel Islands, see here the basing of St. Peter Port at low water and at high water. Ecco qui, questo è l'ingresso, vedete l'acqua che esce tra un po'. This is the seal which prevents the port from going completely dry. Che fa da diga e mantiene l'acqua all'interno. Adesso l'acqua sta ancora scendendo. In questo momento come
Ecco la via dello shopping, subito dietro la via lungo il mare, piena di negozi. Questo una volta era un Portofranco, paradiso dello
We stayed
shopping.
in St. Peter for over a week and then we made another trial.